Hello everyone, I'm Martin. I'm the beekeeper here at Chaos Farm. We've got 3 hives here just behind me in the secret garden. One hive we collected back in March. It's a rescue hive from Devon, and that's a small colony. And then we were lucky enough to purchase 2 good hives from a person who was retiring from beekeeping, and they've been very productive. Today I'm going to be showing you how to light a smoker, explain some of the kit I've got which I need to do a beekeeping, and then we're going to have a look at the hive and the bees. So I'm going to just light the smoker at the moment. The wind is blowing a little bit, so hopefully I can get it lit. Yeah, that's good. Give that a chance to catch. Now the idea of smoke is to not calm the bees. Actually what it does is the bees think that there's a forest fire, and when I puff a bit of smoke into the bees, into the hive, they gorge on the honey that's there. They fill their little tummies up, and they are very small tummies, and they get a little bit lethargic. So that's what we're doing here. We're imitating a forest fire. And we don't use a lot of smoke, we just kind of puff a little bit of smoke into the hive when we approach it, and maybe a few puffs over the top just to calm the bees down. Now it's quite a cool morning, so I've just had a look around the hives, and there's not much flying activity at the moment. Believe it or not, the bees are kind of warm weather animals, and they will fly at about 10 degrees 10 degrees C, but they do like it a little bit warmer. So there's not going to be a lot of activity. They're all going to be in the hive. So I'm just giving the smoker a few puffs. We want to get a good bit of smoke going. Of course, one of the things that can cause a problem is you run out of burning material and the smoker gives up when you desperately need it. Once I get this going, I'll be just talking about some of the equipment, other equipment I've got. So I'll just do that. So as you can see, I'm in a bee suit. I'll be zipping it all the way up, and I'll be pulling the hood over the top and zipping it up, making sure there's no little gaps. I had a bee in my suit a couple of weeks ago. It climbed through this little gap here at my neck and gave me a nice sting on the eyebrow for my troubles. So we must make sure, doubly sure, that we are well protected. I'll wear a pair of reddies and keep the leggings tucked inside. Also, there's options here. I prefer to wear a thick pair of gauntlets. Okay, you don't get the same feel. If I'm doing a little job and I need feeling fingers and such like marking a queen, then I would wear a pair of latex gloves. But I don't like getting stung. I don't have a terrible reaction, but I do swell up. My arm swells up, and it's not very pleasant. So we've got a pair of gauntlets, and we've got a pair of garters that also give added protection, because believe it or not, the bees love this area. Maybe it's because the blood vessels are very near to the surface of the skin, and they got the, they can smell that, and of course they go for those sensitive areas. So what we're going to do now, once I get this smoker going nicely, it seems to be going all right, give it a few more puffs. So that's good bit of smoke there being produced. I'm getting better at this. Sometimes it took me 2 or 3 attempts to do it, but I've practiced, and now I can do it now. Just putting the stuff away so it don't blow away in the wind, and we're going to have a look at the bees. As you can see, we're at the hive now. I've got my smoker. This is hive number 1. And if the sun was out and the temperature was a little bit warmer, this will be bees flying around here. But at the moment, there's no one flying. So I'm not going to do too much smoke, but sometimes it just wakes them up or brings them out into I'll just give them a little bit. One just came out to have a look, see. The other two bits of equipment I need is the Hive Tool, a simple stainless steel metal device which helps me pry up the supers and the brood box. I also carry the brush, nice soft brush, so I can brush the bees off the frames if I want to have a look. So I just have that handy in my pocket. So today all I'm going to do is look at the bees and see how they are. It's just a weekly inspection. Last week I came here and I extracted the honey from the hives, and that's about a 4-day job, believe it or not, because the first job I have to put a bee excluder on. And so I have a look in the hive, I see that the frames, these are called supers and that's called a brood box. I could see the supers had honey in. I wanted to have some of the honey for myself, remembering to leave some honey for the bees, otherwise they will starve during the winter. I put a bee excluder on in between the super and the brood box, leave it for a couple of days, and when I came back to collect the honey, those frames were empty, because it's a one-way system. The bees can go out and into the brood box, but they can't go back into the super. So I've got an empty super to pick up and take home to process. These bees were very good this year. They've been very, very active, and they gave us a very nice quantity of honey. And the honey itself was very light and pale, very floral. So being where we are in the secret garden, surrounded by farmland, there's no surprise there. So I've just taken the block off the top of the hive, and quietly and gently I'm just going to remove the top box. And as you can see, there is bees in the top. Very quiet, very docile, basically because of the temperature. Okay, this is called a crown board, and I just tease open the top. A little bit of propolis sticks it down. They do love sticking the hives together. And again, I will lift this off very quietly and gently. And I'll put it in such a way that I can keep them nice and safe. I don't know if Alex can get a good shot inside the hive here, but I don't want to dismantle it. I don't want to disturb them too much, but they're all fairly quiet. They're not doing much at all today. Now, I'm not going to disturb the bees. They're ever so quiet and placid today. But what you're looking at now is the inside of a beehive, and you can see quite clearly the racks that they've produced. They've got frames. There's 11 or 12 of them in a super, depending on how many you want to squeeze in. And we do have a thing called bee space, and it is important that we have the bee space, otherwise the bees will fill it up with racks and it makes operating the hive very difficult. We've got a nice example of bees down here, just looking into the comb, and this is where they're going to store their honey. So I really don't want to disturb them. They're looking very nice. Again, Alex, if you come round here, you can see the bees down in the center. It's 2 bees worth, so they can work side by side. They are a community. But as I say, they're very quiet. And as I say, I don't really want to do much with the hive today. It's just giving a chance to see that they're okay, and they're just coping. They're just dealing with everything. So I'm going to put that all back together again. So again, just lifting the crown board on top. It's got holes in there, by the way. You can put a metal gauze over it, but I do feed it. You can see the circle on the top where I put a feeder on top, and I fed the bees just after taking the honey harvest. And again, there's the bees there. As you can see, in this state, they are very nice. I'm not going to disturb them, but they're just calm and content, nice and quiet. So I'll just put that on quietly. And put that block on so the wind, and it does get windy up here, doesn't blow the other thing is we do have a badger would come into the garden and would be nosy and maybe knock over the hive to get to the honey. Deer could also do it the same, but here in the secret garden it's probably a nice safe location for them. Okay, we go on to the second hive. I'm expecting exactly the same situation. As you can see, they're identical hives. You just need a nice bit of space to work so you're not tripping over everything. This one's a little bit stuck down, so I just teased it up. Again, you can see lots of bees in this one. This is going to be a good shot, Alex. So look at them on top here. But notice how they're just calm and placid, which is lovely to see. Now, if I just gave a bit of smoke, just a little bit, see how they just react? They put their bottoms up. See that there? And that will drive them down into the hive. Here's the feeding holes. But again, I just don't want to upset them. So I'm going to put, well, I can take the inside up again, I'll just see it, but let's just tease this up and have a quick look in. But we're going to see a lot of bees, lots of bees in this hive. The average hive will contain about 35 to 50,000 bees. Here's a great shot for you. And as you can see, really are doing well. A nice colony of bees. What you can see also, let's explain what you're actually looking at. You're looking at the worker bees. And there's around about 35,000 worker bees in a hive. They're female. There'll be about 1,000 drones. They're the males, and then there'll be one queen in this colony. The workers do exactly what the label says. They work very, very hard. And in the summer, they will work for 6 weeks is their life cycle. When they're born, when they're hatched, they will do housekeeping chores. They will look after the hive. They will clean the cells. They will feed the larva. They will feed the queen. They will do jobs like that. Week 3 and 4, they have glands in their head and produce royal jelly. So they will feed royal jelly to the larva. All bees get a little bit of royal jelly at the beginning. The queens are fed royal jelly all the time. They also produce wax glands, and they are the wax building bees. Just beginning to buzz around a little bit, so I'm going to put them back quietly so I don't upset them. We don't get surrounded by bees. Week 5 and 6 of their 6-week life cycle, they're flying bees. They're the bees that go off and collect the nectar and the pollen. Now, pollen is a protein, and they use it to feed the young larvae in the hive. The nectar is transferred by putting enzymes into it, and they then produce the honey. I know when the honey is ready to use because they put a fine layer, a white cap over the cells, and that's ready to harvest. So that's the short life cycle of their honeybees. That's the summer bee. In winter, they live a lot longer. They live for 4 or 5 months, depending on the length of winter. And they're there to keep the queen warm, and that's all they do. They cluster in the center of the hive. I make sure they've got plenty of food, and hopefully, fingers crossed, all going well, they will survive the winter and will start, the queen will start laying eggs again in early March. We haven't talked about drones. They're the boys, and they don't do a lot really. They eat, sleep, and they mate with the queen if they can. At the end of a season's from March to October, the drones will be kicked out of the hive and expelled. They're not wanted, they're not needed, they're excess to requirements of the hive. So they're quite vicious. If they're lucky enough to mate with the queen, and the queen only does a couple of mating flights in the early part of her life, they will also die. So once mating, they die. So it's a bit of a miserable life for them, but you know, there you go. One queen. Queen is very important. She will live for about 3 or 4 years. She only has, I say, when she's hatched, after about 5 days, she's able to fly. She goes off into this area called a drone congregation area. Lord knows where it is, but it's up there somewhere in the ether. And she meets up with all these drones. They chase after her. They mate in flight. As I say, if a successful drone mates with the queen, they will drop off and die. The queen will mate with quite a few, 20 odd different drones, and she will store that sperm. She won't mate again. She'll come back to the hive, and that's her mating done. And she will then fertilize the eggs. If she's a good queen in a good season, she'll be laying about 2,000 eggs a day, which is a phenomenal number. And the hive numbers will go up from 10,000, which is the average number for overwintering bees, up to about 35 to 50,000 bees in the high season, in the middle of summer. So it's a huge increase in population. It then starts dying back. She eases off the egg laying, and they go back down to 10,000 for the winter. So that's the hive there. Now I'm going to check one more hive. These 2 green hives were the ones that we were lucky enough to purchase from a beekeeper up at Liskeard. This hive in the corner here was our first hive, and this is the rescue hive. People didn't even know they had the hive in the garden. They moved into this new house and realised, oh, there's a hive in the brambles. And they didn't really want them there because they had a child that was scared of the bees. Now, I'm not going to disturb these guys because it's only a small colony, but again, I'm really pleased to see bees at the top like this. And that means to me that they're okay, they're doing all right, there's enough of them. This is some ambrosia. They don't seem to be interested in it. I can see that they can get to it, but they're just not attempting to eat it. But I'm going to leave it on there to give them that extra boost to build up their stores. But as I say, I don't want to go into these guys because I just want to give them a chance to just deal with themselves. I was just checking that we had, if they're taking the ambrosia. The other food stuff I can give them is called fondant, which is like a big candy bar. Kendal mint cake is a good description of it, but it's high in sugar, and I can put these on the top of the hives, inside of course, not outside, and the bees can eat that over a period of time. So there you go, a quick look at the bees. It's not overly warm, as I say, not much flying going on, but I hope you've enjoyed the introduction or chat about our bees. If you want any more information about bees, always get in touch with your local beekeeping group, who will be very happy to help you. Bye now.